dear students. Today we are going to look into the historical reference of historical reference in the play The Spanish Tragedy by Thomas Kidd. So this is what today we are going to discuss. But uh, before getting into this historical reference of the play, let me have a small recap of what we have seen in the last class. So in the last class, we have seen the full title of the play. If you remember, the full title of the play is The Spanish Tragedy, containing lamentable end of Don Horatio and Bel-Imperia with pitiful death of old Romeo. And it's a tragedy written in the year 1582, was published in the year 1592. Fine. Now, what type of tragedy it is? Okay, that's the most important question here. So, the Spanish tragedy, the Spanish tragedy is a tragedy, and it comes under revenge tragedy, which I have said already. It's a 2 mark question. Is a revenge tragedy, and what type of revenge tragedy is? It is a Senecan revenge tragedy. Senecan revenge tragedy. Now, what does this Senecan revenge tragedy mean? What is this Senecan revenge tragedy? This Senecan revenge tragedy is simply just revenge as justice. What is Senecan tragedy? Is a revenge is taken and it is claimed as justice for a crime. So, in this play, the Spanish tragedy, we can see revenge is taken as a justice, and the revenge is taken for love as memory. So this is what we have seen in the last class. If you remember, this is what we have seen in the last class. That is justice and revenge, and love and memory are the themes of this play. And once again, I can say this drama again. This drama is again. You can, if you get into this drama, you can say there is a clash between. Let's see. Okay, wait a minute. There's a clash between Christian world plus Machiavelli. That is the spelling is Machiavelli. Machiavellianism, Machiavellianism, the Tandramana. Okay. So this is the clash between this is clash CL, okay, CLASH, clash between Christian world and Machiavellianism. So what does the Christian world suggest? So the Christian world, Christianity says that sin must be pardoned, pardon. Okay, pardon is the most important part of Christian world. But what does the Senecan Machiavellian says that to take revenge for justice. So this is what we can see in this play. So take revenge for justice. So don't you need not worry whether you do a crime or not. That's not the thing. And here the characters are we have not discussed the character yet, but there is Bel-Imperia, Balthazar, Lorenzo, Horatio, many some characters. So with this small recap, we will go into today's lesson. So the historical reference of the Spanish tragedy. Okay, historical reference. So what is this historical reference? Okay, let me get into the slide now. So the historical reference of the Spanish tragedy. The Spanish tragedy takes place after many clash. Okay, I have made a spelling mistake. It is not C. It is a clash clash between Spain and Portugal. So the story involves two countries, and those two countries are Spain and Portugal. And the war takes place between these two countries, that is Spain and Portugal. And at the end of war, Spain gets victory. And what happens is Spain joined hands with Portugal through the marriage of Balthazar and Bel-Imperia, and they emerge as one powerful force. This is what happens. Okay, let me show you. Now what happens is you can see. Now we can see historical. Now the country is between. So there is a clash between. There is a what is clash? A war. Okay, there is a war between Spain, Spain and Portugal. Now, what happens is there is a war between these two countries, and as a result, what happens is Spain wins the war. So instead of considering Portugal as the enemy, what happens is they too join hands with the marriage of Balthazar, and this will be seen in the story. This historical reference will be seen in the story and Bel-Imperia. So this happens. That is, so a war happens between Spain and Portugal, and the Spain wins the war, but these two countries they join together with the marriage of Balthazar and Bel-Imperia, and they become one powerful nation, one powerful country. So this happens after the war. Fine. We'll see what happens next. So, what happens? But history says the King of Portugal, named King Sebastian, died. Just make it full so that. Okay. History record. History says the King of Portugal, named King Sebastian, died during the battle in the year 1578 without a living heir. Here is Avaris. So, when the King of Portugal, named Sebastian, died without any son or without any heir to for his crown, Portugal was ruled by Sebastian's uncle Henry, of Portugal. And Henry died again in the year 1580 after 2 years without any help, without anyone to take the crown. And that was a crisis, and it led to the crisis. And was the now this is the problem. Now you can see. Let me get rid of it. Okay, now what happened? We can see Portugal. Portugal king is Sebastian, and he is dead. No heir, no Varisilla. Now what happened is Sebastian's uncle Henry takes the crown. He takes the crown, becomes the king of Portugal. And the story does not stop here. What happens? After 2 years, Henry, the new king, dies. Now, he also don't have heir. No heir. And what happens is there is a crisis. And there is a crisis. And there is a crisis. What is the crisis is? Who will be the next king? Next king of Portugal. Who is the next king of Portugal? That's the question. Now that's the question. Now, at this point, what happens in the story? Henry's death resulted in the succession crisis. As a result, both King Philip of II of Spain, Philip II of Spain, and Antony, prior of Crato, the grandson of Portuguese King Manuel I, tried for the crown of Portugal. And in this war, who wins is Philip II of Spain wins, and he becomes the king of Portugal in the year 1581. Okay. Now, what is it? Okay, see, King Philip II. Now, what happened? See, now there is who is the next king of? See, there is no king, and there is a crisis for the king of Portugal. Now, what happens? Spain takes the position, and the Spain king named Philip II. Okay, Philip II. What happens is Phillip Philip II. Okay, Philip. The must not be written here, but it must be pronounced Philip. There is a Roman letter. Philip II. And there is another one from Portugal named, see, Crato. Prior of Crato. Okay, Crato. And he is Spain and he is Portugal. And who is this Crato? And this Crato, you can see, this Crato was a grandson of Portugal King Manuel I, grandson of Manuel I. So now what is this Crato? So grandson of King Manuel I. Now, so when there was no king, or no one to take the crown of Portugal. The king Philip the Second of Spain, and Crato, the grandson of King Manuel of Portugal, they tried to get the kingship of try for the kingship of Portugal. They try for the kingship of Portugal. And what happens? Who wins? And that is the history. And what happens is Philip the Second, the king of Spain, is crowned as the new Portugal king. So Philip the Second becomes the new king of Portugal. Now, what happens next? Now, the kingdoms of Spain and Portugal were combined until the Portugal Restoration War in 1640, after Philip's second son, Philip III, ascended the throne. Okay. Now, you can see what happens. What happens is, Philip II becomes the king of Portugal, and he rules after the death of Philip II. Now comes after the death of Philip II comes Philip, his son, his son, Phillip, Philip the Third. Now he comes the new king of Portugal. Now this man, okay, that is Philip, this man, that is Philip the Third, son of Philip the Second, when becomes the king of Portugal, what he does is he there is a clash. Okay, you can see that what happens. There's a clash. Okay, what happens? There is a clash. How? See. Okay. Now, under Philip's third rule, Portuguese aristocrat started to lose power and status. This resulted in uprising of Portuguese nobility named the Portuguese Restoration War. The Portuguese Restoration War ended in 1668. It resulted in Portugal independence. The royal house of Braganza, a dynasty of Portuguese rulers, was officially restored after the restoration. Very good. Now, what happens is, Philip the second, the Philip the third, his father was a Spain. Okay, Phillip, Philip the second, and Philip the third. Both they supported Spain. As a result, supported in Spain. As a result, what happened is the Portugal aristocrats started to lose their power and status. What is the meaning is, Philip the third. Okay, என்ன பண்ணாரு? Philip the third, son of Philip the second, gave importance to Spain. Gave importance to the people of Spain. Okay, as a result, the Portugal aristocrats, Portugal aristocrats, their powers were taken away and given to the Spain people. The powers from the Portugal aristocrats were taken away and they were given to the Spain people. இவங்களிருந்து பதவிகளை பிடுங்கி ஸ்பெயின் மக்களுக்கு கொடுத்தார். யாரு? பிலிப் த தேர்ட். As a result, இதன் காரணமாக what happened is there is a war. Portuguese Restoration War. What happened is there is a Portuguese Restoration War took place. Portuguese Restoration War. And when the war ended in the year 1668, the war ended in the year, this Portuguese war ended in the year 1668. Portugal got independent. Portugal got independent, and as a result, their dynasty, the Portugal dynasty was restored. So the Portugal dynasty was restored. So this is what happens. This history is reflected in the story. Okay, let us see the mind map. I will take you to this mind map. So there is a war between Spain and Portugal, and in this war the Spain wins. But both Spain and Portugal, they join hands in the marriage of Balthazar and Bel-Imperia. Okay, so and they emerge as a one powerful nation. Both Spain and Portugal, they rise as one powerful nation. Fine. Now, the King of Portugal, named Sebastian, dies without a legal heir. No வாரிசு இல்லாம 1578 இறந்து போறார். What happened is that the uncle of Sebastian takes the power or becomes the new king of Portugal. But he also dies after 2 years, that is in 1580, without a legal heir. And there is a crisis. Crisis na kulapam. Who is the next king of Portugal? Now, what happens at this point? King from the Spain named Philip the second and Antony Prior's or padavi post of Crato. And who is this Crato? Is the grandson of Portuguese King Manuel I. Okay, these two persons, King Philip the second and Prior of Crato, they fight for the crown of Portugal. Portugal உடைய அரசு பதவிக்கு கிரீடத்துக்கு இவங்க ரெண்டு பேரும் போட்டுக்கிறாங்க. King of Spain, Philip the second and Prior of Crato. And who is crowned? And naturally Spain gets a victory and King Spain too is crowned as the next king of Portugal. Fine. Now, after the death of Philip the second, his son Philip the third gets the crown of Portugal. Now, this man Philip the third unites the kingdoms of Spain and Portugal. He unites both the kingdom of Spain and Portugal, but what he does is the aristocrats of Portuguese started to lose their power. He took away the powers of Portuguese aristocrat and he gave away those powers to the Spain people. As a result, what happened is war took place among the Portuguese, that is named as Portuguese Restoration War. So Portuguese பணக்காரர்கள்ட்ட இருந்த அதிகாரத்தை எடுத்து he gave it to Phillip Spain people. அதனால போர்ச்சுகீஸ் ரெஸ்டோரேஷன் போர் அப்படின்னு ரெஸ்டோரேஷன் மீட்கெடுக்கும் போர் நடந்துச்சு ரெஸ்டோரேஷன் போர். And in this, what happened is the war ended in the year 1668. Sorry, 1668, and Portugal got independence. As a result, the Portuguese rulers were officially restored from restoration. So their powers were again restored. The Portuguese rulers gained or got their powers again. So that the story or the historical contact of the play, the Spanish tragedy, comes to an end. And this story opens, our story by written by Thomas Kitts opens with this historical reference. So that's why the historical reference of the story is more important, dear students. So we'll meet you in the next class about the characters involved in the Spanish tragedy. Goodbye. Thank you.